I was called this meeting to order of the Ethics and Election Committee, and we'll start with roll call. I'm Chair Pete Peterson.
Forrest Dunbar. Dick Trainey.
And Amy Solberg, Election Coordinator.
Natalie Wilson, Assembly Council Assistant.
Cindy Hawkins, election worker, data technology project lead.
All right. Well, thank you. I think Barbara Jones is going to be joining us momentarily. She's in another meeting right now. I don't know, I haven't seen Mr. Croft yet. But we'll have to get started. Mr. Trainey has to leave us to go teach a Government 101 class here in a little while, so we could have a little bit of a discussion about our special municipal election that was just concluded. And do you have any information? How do you think it went? Problems that you saw or anything that you'd like to have us discuss?
So, Mr. Chair, we really didn't come up with any problems or anything. I think this election, the special election, was pretty smooth. It is summer in Alaska, and so, you know, we were a little worried about turnout, but with a 20% turnout, I think it was pretty good. I don't think we had any other issues. We had some really good reviews on our drop boxes. We had the 3 new locations and then also a new spot at Lusac Library. And that one, we got a lot of good reviews saying, oh, I could see it from the parking lot. It was such a great spot. I liked it way better than where it was before. So we're going to leave that one. West High, that was another favorite. I think it had like 14% of the drop boxes, or the ballots, envelopes dropped into there. So that was a pretty good one, and we'd like to talk to you at a later time, but pretty soon, about ordering some new drop boxes, so to accommodate for those new spots.
So we were planning to add, was it 3? Is that what the plan is?
3, yeah. We would love to have a 4th, but it just all depends on budget.
Okay.
3 citywide.
3 new
3
citywide, yeah.
Right.
So that will put us up to 15.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Mr. Trainey.
Are we thinking about changing the color at all so they're more visible to the public?
So that is something that we're looking at. We would like to do maybe a municipal gold yellow. If we do a blue, it might be too dark, and then during winter time, it'll just blend in, just like the white blended in with the snow. So if we do possibly a yellow, we're also thinking of doing flags, like just it's like a flag that goes up and then just out a little bit, so it waves in the wind. But yeah, we would love to paint them.
I would leave the logo for the city off because it's undergoing some change. And I don't want you to have to deal with the issue of, well, that's what it was last week, we changed it. Even though with Forest Amendment, we don't have to change it again, it's easier not to have to use the logo.
What we could do, through the chair, what we could do is we can order magnetic signage and have it magnetic, and so that we could take it off and then put it back on if we ever change.
Okay. Well, what about fluorescent stripes so that they would be visible, you know, more visible in the wintertime or April? You know, we don't have as much sunlight probably in April as we would have, say, you know, June or whatever.
Yeah, so we did have some of the strips, the reflective taped strips, but they weren't very big. And so when I would go at night and I would check out just the different spots, as long as your headlights were hitting them, they would shine. But they were so small that that is something that we can look into, of getting them bigger or longer, maybe outlining the whole box.
Yeah, because it's probably not very expensive. That would be an economical way to make it more visible. All right. Yeah, I actually brought a copy of the results that was in our packet yesterday.
8750.
Yeah. And so 52% were mailed in, which is higher than the April election. It was 46%. And 46% used the drop box, which was 8% higher than April, so and they're definitely liking that. And fewer used the accessible vote center, only 1%, 1.25%, so that was down.
Well, that was because we only had the one open, right? And so accessible vote centers during the regular election, there were several of them, and they were perhaps more conveniently placed. The Ship Creek facility is great for a number of things, but it's a little bit off the beaten path for folks that are trying to vote in person.
All right. So anything else we want, any questions, or Mr. Dunbar?
Well, I just, this is as good a time as any to talk about it. So remind me how many people it takes to have a quorum. 60%? Or is it for a quorum at a committee? Or is it 75?
60%.
60%. So if I were to add Ms. Quinn Davidson to this committee, then you could still have, it would still be a three people that have a quorum, but perhaps we have another
Why don't you
member.
add her to it?
What's that?
Add her to it.
Well, I'm going to ask, I haven't talked to her about it, but is that something you'd be interested in, Mr. Davidson?
That would be fine.
Well, I also want her here because I do hope that, you know, I think the special election went smoothly, but I think we realized in this whole process that there are some issues with the way that our code is structured now for appointing an interim person, and perhaps the timeframes for doing, even though the election went off well, the timeframes for doing the election were a little constrained. And so I would like to write an ordinance, and I think I would like Ms. Quinn Davidson to lead it because she lived it firsthand in understanding what the problems are. And so in order to do that, I think it would make sense for her to be on this committee. So I'm gonna talk to her about it.
Okay, that sounds great with me.
Makes sense.
Yep.
She's the first one to actually do it and get on the assembly, so
Yeah.
it's good to have her perspective.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, well, let's move down to B on our new business, education and outreach for the April 2019 election. We've lost our education and outreach experienced person. Carolyn has been hired away, and she's working for the state of Alaska now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know this.
Amanda Harder.
Traitor.
So we're going to have to develop a new person for that role. Do we have anyone in mind, or?
Mr. Chair, so we do have Anna Campione. She was the education and outreach assistant. And between her and I think that we can possibly tackle the education and outreach. There's some limitations, like we can't do the Facebook post or the Facebook boosts. We can't pay for those anymore, but there is something that we were thinking of doing, was having a campaign to show why people like vote by mail. And we're thinking of course, this is just in the talking stage of it, but we'd like to get, just different people, that the older generation, why it's important to them to have a vote by mail, how easy it is, or, some things that they liked about it. Single parents, people in the professional working field that work 24 hours a day and possibly could not take time off to vote on a certain day if it was a poll-based location. So, but yeah, that's just something that we're looking into.
You might go to the senior center too, because a lot of seniors I talk to enjoy doing vote by mail, because they could stay home and get around the kitchen table and decide what they want to do with the ballot. They couldn't do that with the precinct voting. So, because we had a lot of people the first time, 90 years old, voting, hadn't voted in years. So.
But yeah, you can, you have time to debate the propositions that are, initiatives on the ballot, and so makes sense to me anyway. So, all right, well, that's good to know that we've got the assistant that's available to help us out there. And so we'll have to keep track of Facebook to see if they don't adjust that policy, because I would think that there would be a lot of campaigns nationwide this year that will be having the same problem that we had, that their people don't want to give their social security number or personal address to Facebook to be allowed to advertise, And so you would think they would allow someone that has, a business identification number or something like that, so that, because giving up your social security number is not something that most people, like to
Something
pass
you're
on
not
like candy.
told not to do, so.
Yeah. So, okay, well, let's talk about this PRSA, Public Relations Society of America Award. Did we receive that, or we were nominated for it, or?
Yeah, so Barbara was actually going to talk about it. I did not go to the Aurora Awards, but it was last Thursday, and the Education and Outreach team was nominated to win. Barbara had said there was a number of awards given out, and we won third place on one of them, but I'm not completely certain on which one it was.
Third place.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that's better than last.
It's kind of like we play Monopoly and you get a chance card that says you won second place in beauty contest. Gets you nothing, you know.
So long as we didn't lose to the Valley. Was it statewide or just here in Anchorage?
You know, I just don't know.
Okay.
Well, if,
Hopefully Barbara comes in
if
soon.
Barbara gets here, we can maybe have her fill us in a little more detail since she attended the ceremony. All right. Well, let's go down to discussing signatures being scanned by humans versus optical scanning. This is something we brought up a little bit at our last meeting. And so do you have anything, information there that you want to give us about that?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So Dennis provided some information to me. He had said that, let's see, he reviewed the Fluence proposal, and it's priced that the automated signature verification add-on is at $32,000 for the initial, and then $8,550 per year for maintenance and warranty. And he was saying that please keep in mind that the auto sig match is intended not as a full replacement, but just as to speed up the reviews. And just from our review and resolution team and our signature verification team and all of them, I think maybe Cindy can elaborate on this a little bit more. Cindy Hawkins, she's our data team lead. But I think our team did a pretty good job of getting through all the signatures, so I'm not sure if we need, at this point, that the add-on to speed up the review process. So,
Well, that might be something we would consider if we started handling statewide elections, where there would be many more votes to count.
Mm-hmm. And in that case, perhaps the state could help us defray the costs a little bit. I'm hoping that this coming year we can bring down the costs of vote by mail a little bit.
Sure.
And purchasing new equipment, perhaps. Is it new equipment or new software? It would be new equipment.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, for this one, it would be a add-on feature.
Add-on feature.
It
Yeah,
has to
so
be
it'd be
some piece
software.
of hardware that scans them, plus software.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure whatever it is, it's not free.
But it's $8,000 a year for just
$8,550 per year for maintenance and warranty.
Okay. That's for maintenance and warranty, but presumably there's some kind of upfront cost.
Yeah, and that one is the
$32,000.
$32,000. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd like to see some demonstration on what it gives. Do they have a video that we can watch that shows us what it does?
I am not completely familiar with it, but I could possibly ask Dennis.
If you would,
Mhm.
because I'd like to know what makes it worth that much money. I want to see if it speeds it up dramatically.
Well, didn't someone say that that's what they use in King County? And since they have a much larger volume of votes that they count down there or something?
Mr. Chair, I think they do have it possibly in King County, but there's like a feature to where you set it to review. It's like a percentage of hit matches per signature, and if it doesn't hit that number, then it goes to the review team. But
And you can set that sensitivity to whatever you would like it to be. But I can't remember any particulars Dennis had indicated as to what he would be proposing for us.
Is Dennis still in contract with us?
yes,
For how much longer?
that I don't know, but I can look into it.
Can you find out for me? Because we count on Dennis But I just want to see what his contract is, how long it's good for.
Right.
So he's fair what we're going to do if it ends.
Certainly develop the expertise at this point.
Yeah. I just don't want him to disappear because we didn't renew his contract. I just want to see when it's coming up again.
Well, anything else about scanning machine versus humans?
I do know that there, excuse me, Mr. Chair, I do know that there's been some talk in discussion phases of adding possibly 2 or 3 more physical bodies to actually assist this next April election. I think we had a team of 4 people, a lead and 3 others, possibly 4, but they rotated through other tasks within the election because we do multitask all of the people that we work with. But we were thinking of maybe adding 2 or 3 more people, 3 more stations, which would help with some of that throughput. Although I don't believe we ever had an issue about waiting for signature verification.
So you never got backed up to the point where that was...
No. Early in April election, I believe there were some issues mainly with the software and doing some tweaking on the Bell and Howell, but it never, I don't think it had anything to do with the signatures. There might have been the initial crank up of getting people familiar with what they were doing and feeling confident and doing the double and triple checks that we were doing initially, but no, there wasn't any slowdown.
Where were the sort of choke points, if memory serves, when we get a little? I mean, it took a little bit longer to count than we expected, and where was the sort of holdup?
See you later, Pete. I gotta run.
On
Saturday, I'm a favorite.
Specific bottlenecks.
We don't have a
Early
quorum
on, I
now.
think one of them was just we had some particular issues with the Bell and Howell, and we had to have support right up the get-go because that held up signature verification in order to do that. But otherwise, the throughput, I think, worked really well. We held off doing our scanning before tabulation from a certain point because we misunderstood when and how soon we could start our scanning versus tabulating. And I think once we worked through with some of those scanner issues, we had initial problems with some of the scanners on the, on the Bell and Howell versus the scanning and tabulation side. But those went pretty smoothly too. I can't remember anything real that caused us concern. Yeah.
So I'll note, Mr. Chairman, we no longer have quorum, which I believe means we cannot pass resolutions or take any other official action.
Right.
So we can continue to hear from the employees.
Right, we can continue to have a discussion and see if Ms. Jones shows up and so she can give us an update on the Aurora Awards ceremony that she attended. And we can brag about our 3rd place finish.
Actually, so if there's anything else, if there's nothing more on that, Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we elide, that we do not take up matter E because Eric is not here.
Right.
In that case, without a quorum, without any further business, I would suggest we move to adjourn, but it's your hearing.
Well, we could.
No, for the record, it's a beautiful day outside.
Yes, it is. Well, I guess we could go ahead and adjourn unless anyone else has got any additional information that they were planning to
Public comment.
disseminate.
Give a chance for public comment.
All right, we'll do audience participation then.
Yes.
My name is Eugene Haven. I represent myself, follow the public process, I live in that city valley. Follow the public process done appropriately, decision made by the governing body is more like a public interest. Note 1. Minimum requirements of the Open Meetings Act is time, date, and location. On the meeting website, this is not the location for the meeting. Although I understand that you got emails, Assembly members got emails to this meeting, and respect, Assemblymember Peterson made a note to this meeting was going to be in this location at the Assembly meeting last night. But the fact is, the Website does not show it, shows at where the election central location place is, Ship Creek, Ship area, near Warehouse Avenue. Again, didn't follow minimum requirement. Also, the right thing about meetings is, and I already said it before, we have a meeting call to order. You do a roll call to note what assembly members here of the committee are present and meet a quorum. Then you have introductions, it's audience introductions, so I wouldn't, sometimes a person like me doesn't have to speak, just want to note for the record that I'm at this meeting. You still don't do that. And then the meeting is you just look at everyone in the room except me to make a note that I'm in the room as part of the introductions. You have all the staff here, and this is not right. And then, yes, there were several problems with the election. I know some of the concerns at the Assembly meeting last night. Briefly said it before, and we continue to conduct a policy of indifference, particularly when it pertains to the main requirements of the Open Meetings Act. And with respect to time, and I clock it, I have 1 minute and 13 seconds left, but rather the rest of my remainder of my remarks will be addressed at the full of more Assembly members present. Thank you. That ends my comment.
Thank you. All right, we're adjourned.